Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about why buying a used Tesla is actually the least expensive car option of all the cars that you could possibly buy. So don't forget to hit the like button, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and that bell button. That'll help a lot. And then let's get going. By the end of this video, I'm going to have shown you a financial spreadsheet of revenues, costs, maintenance, anything involved with owning a car, and going through lots of different potential options for which cars you can purchase, and why my wife and I decided that buying a used Tesla was actually the least expensive option on a month-to-month basis over a 5-year period for owning a car. So let's get started. We actually ended up buying a used 2014 Tesla Model S. We had never owned a car before, so when we were looking at this, we basically had to go through all the different maintenance costs, all the different costs of ownership, parking, gasoline, or charging in this case, anything that was involved in a car. I wanted to know what those costs were and figure out if a lower cost car was actually a better deal than buying something like a Tesla, which requires a little bit less maintenance. So we basically scoured the web, figured out about 10 different types of cars, and eventually ended up with our car that we currently have today. Her name is OA. She is a brown Tesla. She has free supercharging. She has amazing seats. She's got a sunroof. She's a super sexy car, and you would never know it's from 2014. We bought it with about 75,000 miles, but pretty much it drives like new. And so again, at the end of this video, I'll tell you why potentially buying a Tesla was the best option for us. Your situation might be a little bit different, but we'll get into that in a second. So just in general, you have to take into account quite a few different costs associated with owning a car. The purchase price, or if you're leasing it, the monthly cost. You have to do interest rates if you're actually getting a car loan for your car. Maintenance costs, so any types of repairs or just wear and tear that happen to the car. Gas or charging if you're getting an electric car. And any other type of upgrades or things like that that you might want to do. And then another cost would be the potential resale value, so the depreciation. So how much value does your car actually lose before you actually go to resell it? And that essentially is a cost as well to you. So all those different things we had to take into account when we were figuring out which was the best car for us. I created quite a complex Excel sheet to figure all of this out. And then there was one little bit of a twist that we played into it, and that was actually a revenue generating opportunity. So with our car, since we both work remote, we don't need it all the time, we actually wanted to put it on Turo, which is a car sharing program. So it's kind of like Airbnb for your car. So we actually took that into account as well, figuring out which of the cars that we were actually considering was going to generate the most revenue for us. And we also factored that into the potential purchase price to figure out what the long-term cost of this would be. So here we are in the Excel sheet, and I'll kind of walk you through all these numbers, but just as a high-level overview, basically what we're able to see here is that if we don't include any of that revenue, so the car sharing revenue that we'd be able to generate, this is the different monthly costs for all the different types of cars that we looked at. This is a bit of a narrowed selection. We had a lot more in here before this, but this is just with no revenue included, what the actual cost of a car would be every month over the course of 5 years. So we bought a used Tesla Model S. What you'll basically see, most cars are actually coming in right around the mid 500s to mid 600 range. There was at one point a used Tesla Model X that we were looking at, but as you can kind of see, that's almost double what anything else would be. So without any revenue taken into account when you're actually buying your car, most cars are actually going to be somewhere in this mid 500 to 600 range, unless there's some sort of crazy repair that you'd actually have to do. So in this case, we actually would have probably been better off just buying any type of car. There was one that we saw on OfferUp, which I'll talk about in a second, which was actually only $5,000. So technically, of all these options, that was the least amount. So when you actually take into account the revenue that you're going to generate from Turo in this case, when we were renting the car, the Tesla Model S actually comes out at $200 per month, where all these other ones, for the most part, are still within the $500 range. The Tesla Model X decreases about $500 to $750, but after all the costs included, if you're actually going to own this car over 5 years and generate revenue on a consistent basis over that 5 years, the Tesla Model S comes in significantly lower than even a Tesla Model 3 and a Toyota Prius and this OfferUp car, which was listed for $5,000. So this is like the overall end reason why we ended up buying the Tesla Model S. And now let's dig into the numbers and show you exactly where we got this from. I'll also share this Excel sheet so you can actually plug in other cars that you might be looking at and the different costs associated with that, just so that you can get a better understanding of what the cost might be over a long period of time with owning your car as well. So we're going to start first with the revenue. So here you'll see basically we have all the different cars in here. So we've got just a general used car. Let me actually show you the different base costs that we have here. So there's a used car base price at $10,000. We were looking at a Jeep Wrangler, which was $20,000. The Model X, $71,000. A used Tesla Model S. This is the one that we actually ended up buying, which was $29,500. I will show you where we bought that and how we actually got that. A new Tesla Model 3 is a little under $40K. Prius, 26, and then this offer-up car, which actually I thought it was $5,000, $4,500, and then just a brand new Honda Civic as well. So all of these were kind of like the final contenders for which car we would actually end up buying. And then when you actually look at the revenue potential on here, so with Turo, you can basically list your car, like I said, like Airbnb, and you can set a daily price, and from that price, they take some sort of fee, and you'd have to pay taxes on it. So I basically calculated the profit that we would actually generate per day, how many days you could rent it per month, and this was based off of how many other cars are out there like it. So with a Model 3, there's actually a lot more competition for Model 3s than there is for Model S's. So there's a higher likelihood that you could rent your Model S for more days during the month. All of this basically calculated into a potential annual revenue that we'd be able to make off of our car. So that was kind of like the first thing that we looked at. The second was with upkeep costs. So this is probably the big area where the Tesla kind of stands out. So most cars that take gas require a lot more maintenance than an electric vehicle, just because there's a lot more parts, there's a lot more things that need to be replaced. So basically what we did was we figured out miles per gallon, how many miles we're actually estimating to drive per year, the cost of gas. In this case, I also have a cost for charging, since it costs us to charge in our parking garage. And then also just general maintenance costs, registration, parking, insurance, different things like that. So these registration, parking, and insurance didn't have too many differences. But then when you actually look at the total expenses here, the total expenses comes, again, the Tesla Model S and the Model 3 were the least amount of money per year to actually maintain. Then you actually have to take into account the car costs. So what does it actually cost to purchase the car? So you've got your base price here. We've got taxes depending on how much the car actually cost. In this case, we were looking at, if we were to get the Model X, we would have to, get a loan. So like what the interest rate was on there, what was the actual interest, any fees associated with that. So that could be registration fees, it could be additional upgrade fees, things like that. And then in this case as well, there was a potential rebate that we were looking at. To take a quick aside, so how do we actually find these cars, and how do we even find a Tesla Model S for $29,500? So we actually, when we were looking online, so if you were just to go to the standard Tesla website, you'll see you can get a brand new Model 3 for $39,900. And in terms of our car, the only negative of the car we actually bought, OA, is that the range of it is about 200 miles. Other than that, we have free supercharging. We don't have autopilot, but literally the car looks brand new. It runs perfectly fine, has a great sunroof. It's this unique color. But other than that, there's really nothing different that we wouldn't be able to get by buying the Tesla Model 3 here. So this one's a little less than $40,000. Just the base model of the Model S, $80,000. So even off the Tesla website, you can get a 2015 Model S for $34,000. So this is actually $5,000 more than the one that we actually bought. And how we actually bought ours was through a site called Tread. Tread is basically where other people can list their cars, and Tread will help you basically do a transaction with those people. So it doesn't use a third party. You're basically just directly transacting with a real person who wants to sell their car. So in our case, it allows you to negotiate a little bit more. And with a Tesla specifically, if you go through a third-party dealership or Tesla directly, they'll actually remove some features of the car or charge you again for them when like the original owner had purchased them. So we still have free supercharging, but if we had actually purchased this through a third-party dealer or through Tesla directly, the free supercharging would actually be gone completely. So we actually saved a lot of money with that. So here, just in general, you'll see there's a Tesla Model 3 for sale on Tread for $36,500, and then there's a Model S for $38,800. So these are actually still far more expensive than the one we actually ended up buying. So maybe we just got lucky, but at the same time, this is like another way that you can actually look for cars that are potentially somewhere else that you can actually purchase from people. And there's a lot of other cars, not just Teslas on here, but you can find just about any other car on here for sale. And this was the $5,000 car that we originally were about to buy. So this had I think it had 120,000 miles on it. It was like 2004, I believe, Jeep Liberty. And we were about to buy it, but basically what we realized is that, one, it probably wouldn't last 5 years, and the maintenance costs, just given how old it was, were probably going to be a lot higher than buying a newer car. So it eventually, and then based off of the Excel sheet, realized that the cost of that car, even though it was only $5,000 out of pocket, was going to be a lot higher over the long run, because we'd probably end up having to buy a new car in a couple of years anyway, and the maintenance costs with it were going to be a lot as well. So at the end of all this, you basically come to the idea of, okay, what's the actual cost of the car? So this cost right here includes fees, taxes, and any rebates. We then figure out the monthly cost of that. You can put your expenses in here for the year, your revenue for the year, and you can kind of figure out what the car would cost if you only held it for 1 year. So if we only held the car for 1 year, buying this Tesla would not be the best option. It would be actually more expensive than just about any of these other cars on here. If we held it for 3 years, it would be kind of right in the middle in terms of if it was the most expensive. But the sweet spot is if we held it for 5 years, the cost of it is actually less than any of these other cars on here. So obviously this does put us in a unique situation where if we don't hold the car for 5 years, we're actually buying a more expensive car. But just given the fact that Teslas are high quality, they last for a long time, and even at like 200,000 miles, these things still drive great, the likelihood of it reaching 5 years is pretty good. So over 5 years, we basically get to the total cost, if you factor in a resale, of $15,000 for the cost that we bought. And for that $5,000 car, the actual grand total cost of it over 5 years is $37,000. So that's actually $22,000 more over 5 years to purchase a $5,000 car that's really old and has a lot of miles, compared to buying a newer car that's going to last longer, require less maintenance as well. So as a quick recap, when you're looking at a car, you have to look at a lot of the different costs that are going to be going into it. It includes maintenance, gas, so that could also, you need to factor in miles per gallon for different cars, as well as different parking, resale value, depreciation. All these different costs actually do affect what over the long run your car is going to cost you. So if you have flexibility to buy potentially a more expensive car, it actually might be better in the long run because it's going to save you a bit more money. So in our case, we were able to buy a sexy Model S, and you can buy either a sexy Model S or just another great, sexy, good-looking car, and it's going to be great for you. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. We'll be sending more videos your way.